Hello, my name is Zach, and I'm going to be refuting Andrew's first affirmative construction. In my rebuttal, I'm going to be mainly focusing on the inadequacies of the War Powers Resolution and make the inference that the affirmatives policy would follow suit. I have two arguments against the workability of the affirmatives policy. The affirmatives policy will be susceptible to circumvention as the President reserves the right to conduct military action abroad as long as an enemy threat exists. This is supported by the fact that the War Powers Act is already circumvented very frequently, as it is today, and the affirmative has not supplied any reason to suggest that this would change if the unmanned aircraft were incorporated into it. As it stands now, Obama in 2011 was able to participate in protecting Libya by precision strikes with unmanned aerial vehicles and deem it part of NATO's coalition efforts. He's also stated that with the exception of operations to rescue a U.S. aircraft crew, the United States has deployed no ground forces to Libya. With that being said, he claimed that those actions were consistent with the War Powers Resolution as part of his efforts to keep Congress informed about deployments. That is the reason of his report. That happened 2 months prior to the report, and the War Powers Resolution Act requires you to report your actions within 48 hours. He waited 2 months and got no flack for it. The reason that he can get away with that is because of the Constitution. The Constitution tells us that the President of the United States is the Commander-in-Chief and has the ability to conduct military action as long as he has statutory authorization to repel imminent threats to the United States' safety or to its foreign policy. A second workability issue is that the use of unmanned aircraft does not fall under the jurisdiction of military action that must be checked by Congress, since there's no ground forces. That being said, as long as the President continues to only use unmanned aircrafts for the reason of preventing terrorism, the Commander-in-Chief will be able to perform the strikes without approval of Congress, regardless of whether or not it's part of the War Powers Resolution. Now I will talk about the issues of disadvantage. The first issue is that since drones are capable of solving international conflicts with minimal American costs, these drone strikes are likely to be continued by the President without approval of the Senate due to the status of American safety that they provide, regardless of their institution and the War Powers Resolution. This safety that they provide is allowed because you use one man piloting this aircraft in the safety of a base to do the work of hundreds of ground troops. That's not going to go away, regardless of whether or not it's under the jurisdiction of Congress. So because of that, the American population has made the consensus that they approve of drone strikes. That means that the democracy of the country is supporting it as it is now, even though it's illegal, because of the safety that it provides. Additionally, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia have all given consent to the United States to use drone strikes within their country territory because they cannot control the terrorist groups on their own. They have made it legal for us to do this thing that's illegal for us in our country because of how safe it makes them feel as well. My second disadvantage is that the War Powers Resolution is a violation of the U.S. Constitution. Article 2 of the Constitution grants the President the position of Commander-in-Chief, and therefore he is allowed to make the decisions as the boss. The War Powers Resolution restricts these abilities. The War Powers Resolution restricts these abilities to make military decisions, stating that you can only initiate military action in cases of self-defense. Restricting these powers is obviously going against the initial intents of the Constitution. This congressional constitutional debate leads to many court cases against the President by Congress that have yet to amount to any recommendation of the Commander-in-Chief. Such as in 2011, when 10 House members filed a lawsuit against Obama and state that it's a violation of the War Powers Act because he's not giving enough notice, but they don't win the lawsuits. They have yet to win a lawsuit against the President. Some have even stated that he was likely to be impeached, but they can't even win a lawsuit against him. Due to all these facts, I believe that the affirmative policy would follow in the same tracks as the War Powers Resolution as it is today and be frequently circumvented. Thank you.